Commence primary ignition.
This is the way. I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
What is up, all of you Ugnots and Jawas out there, and welcome back to yet again another episode of Mando Talk. And I gotta say this right off the top. If you are on YouTube, look at this clean, beautiful Boba Fett inspired background we got going. Shout out to Brandon Anderson. If you're a podcast listener for a long time, you know him, you love him. So let me ask you this. Just off the top, I have a request for our podcast listeners to show support for Brandon Anderson, BA as we call him. Hop on over to YouTube, so click the link that's in the description if you're on the podcast platform, and hit the like button on this video at least, just so I can text BA later and say, look, everybody loves it. They're loving the work that you're doing, so do that favor for me if you could, please. But with that said, we have a Boba Fett inspired background because we are starting our Boba Festivities. But before we give you details behind what exactly that is, DJ Foster's back. What's up, DJ?
Howdy, guys. Glad to be back. I've got my own Boba Fett setup happening back here. I have the Empire Strikes Back novelization from, I don't know what year it was actually published, but I'm going to go with 1980. Got Empire Strikes Back again on the wall tonight. And then also a Boba Fett bobblehead. Boba Fett 40th Anniversary Limited Edition Black
Limited
Series.
Edition.
And then my favorite Boba Fett collector item. This is Holiday Special Boba Fett Funko Pop.
That is beautiful. That is
my favorite.
Amazing.
My favorite one. It's my favorite Boba Fett item I have. Love that. I had to hunt that thing down.
Instantly jealous.
Well, that's okay because now it's not Boba Fett, but I have something that I sent in the mail to you today, sir.
Uh-oh.
It's not Boba Fett. I'll say that now. That would make it great if it was. I did send something in the mail to Caleb Keller today. So you will hopefully receive that before Saturday.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully.
I would love it. I would love to see that soon, but I can't wait. I appreciate whatever it is. It is.
You're good. You're gonna like it. You're gonna like it.
All right. Well, listen. I hope you, our listener, is gonna like our Boba Festivities. And again, what our Boba Festivities is gonna be is me and DJ week by week on our Thursday episodes, getting you and ourselves prepared for the Book of Boba Fett. Like our Thursday shows are gonna be specifically focused on that character, diving deeper into that character, looking back at Mandalorian season 2 episodes and seeing what we can pull from those chapters and maybe connect to the Book of Boba Fett. And we're going to start that off tonight with Chapter 9, the Marshal. I can't wait to talk about that episode yet again. And we're also tonight going to kick it off by discussing the Under the Helmet special that came on Disney Plus Day. So, if you love Boba Fett, subscribe to, the YouTube channel, the podcast, wherever you get your Mando talk. We would greatly appreciate it because it's going to keep on coming. And again, show update Tuesday is when we do our news pieces for Star Wars now. Thursdays, Boba Festivities, baby. DJ, anything you want to add to that before we get going on our first chapter of Boba Festivities?
I'm just excited for the Boba Festivities.
Yes.
The fact that we even get to have Boba Festivities should be cause for celebration in the streets, shouting from the rooftops. We should all jump in our own Slave One fire spray starships. Whether they're real or in our minds, we should just escape into the Boba Festivities. And as I said on Twitter today, we're starting a party that even the Sarlacc pit couldn't digest.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good time with these Boba Festivities.
Yeah. Well,
and I'm trying to put on an ASMR type voice while I'm saying all that. No, but for real, I'm excited, and I can't wait for our news show on Tuesday because a lot of good stuff's already come about that we get to discuss on that day. So
a lot of great
looking forward to
things.
that as well.
But we'll leave it there as far as that goes. We'll tease you to make sure you come back to that. But you said something about a Sarlacc pit, so let me do another great transition on this episode. Let's dive down the Sarlacc pit of the character of Boba Fett this week by going to The Mandalorian Chapter 9, The Marshal first. We're going to discuss that chapter, and specifically, we're going to discuss what we could see from that chapter carry over into the Book of Boba Fett. And those of you that are watching live with us, first of all, thank you so much for being here. Second of all, let us know maybe some things that you think of as we're revisiting Chapter 9, The Marshal, that come to your mind as far as, okay, this could potentially connect to the Book of Boba Fett. Well, the first thing that I want to mention as far as Boba Fett in The Mandalorian, Chapter 5, The Gunslinger, which was directed by none other than Dave Filoni, was actually, in fact, the first appearance that we got of Boba Fett in the Mandoverse, The Mandalorian, where we got those spurs, and for so long, a lot of people speculated that was Boba Fett. Me personally, I never did when I first saw it, but I believe it was, speaking of Brandon Anderson at the top of our show, on Mando Talk, BA was the one that broke that prediction to us. Like, that was the first time I'd even considered it, and he turned out to be true. So what did you think as far as the spur moment of Chapter 5, The Gunslinger, I guess, before we dive deeper into Chapter 9?
No, I remember waking up and watching that episode and ultimately being kind of disappointed with the overall episode. It has a lot to do with that character who I can't even remember his name because he was such a throwaway character. But I was really excited to see Ming-Na win. I was watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. a lot back in the day and really loved Agent May. And of course, she's the original voice of Mulan. So, childhood nostalgia there as well. So I was excited to watch her mostly. As far as seeing, and I mentioned her because, it's her there on the ground at the end of that episode where we do hear the spurs. And this is where it pays to be a behind the scenes nerd for me and for our other listeners who are probably behind the scenes nerds. You hear those spurs and they're almost indistinguishable. And I think it was in one of the Disney Gallery episodes where Filoni told Favreau, he goes, "Oh no, people are going to think that's Mando." But I never one time thought it was Mando coming back. I never thought it was Din Djarin coming back to look at her. I always thought it was Boba.
Yeah, I certainly think that we probably, and well, not me. I just revealed that BA was the one that revealed it to me. But a lot of people, thought, okay, that's Boba Fett. I think the general audience, though, maybe, like Filoni said, maybe could have gotten confused with that moment.
Well,
but
there
I think
were a lot
season
of people
2 definitely clears that up.
Oh yeah, it 100% does. But there were a lot of people who this was their introduction to Star Wars, was Mandalorian. So it makes sense to be like, oh, well, that's Mando. But us, the hardcore guys, and the girls, we're all like, oh, that sounds like Boba Fett.
Yeah.
But then you don't think about it because they misdirect you for the next few episodes until you get to Chapter 9, which is kind of perfect as far as writing and directorial styles and all that stuff goes. And that's why Jon Favreau is like the king.
Yeah. And speaking of that too, and Indiana Skywalker, oh, I love that username.
Oh, that's a great
chat.
username.
Says, hello there, everyone. Thank you for being here, Indiana. We appreciate it. Speaking of, you said Jon Favreau directing, writing, producing this Chapter 9 of The Mandalorian. I tell you what, after revisiting this, I think of all the chapters, well, obviously that big chapter, I'm blanking on the title right now, when Boba officially shows up and smashes all the stormtrooper helmets.
I can find out. I don't remember.
Regardless, this chapter for Jon Favreau, directing, writing, and producing, I think this one might give us the biggest sense of what the Book of Boba Fett may feel like, of all of the different Mandalorian chapters, because of Favreau's heavy involvement with that specific chapter. Because we've heard Jon Favreau speak before that Boba Fett was his inspiration behind even creating this Mandalorian story. So he's very much into the character, and I think, obviously with his hands all over Chapter 9, I think that's a good representation of maybe the vibes that he hopes that you get when seeing Book of Boba Fett. What do you think about that personal head thought that I have going on right now?
And you're referring to Chapter 9, correct?
Yes.
I don't see that necessarily.
Okay.
I think I understand where you're coming from. I don't think that that's my feel as far as what Book of Boba is going to look like.
Yeah.
If you're going to draw a parallel to the two, chapter 9 versus Book of Boba Fett, I think they're going to be very different.
Okay.
That's just a personal take. It's nothing major on that.
Sure.
And by the way, the episode where Boba Fett comes back in full force is called The Tragedy.
There you go. Yeah. Good
So
call.
I went and looked it up real quick. Just a second. But
Well,
that's the episode.
Yeah. Well, those are some general thoughts we have there on, chapter 9 before we dive deep into it. But let's just go ahead and get deeper into it. I will say, as far as Boba Fett goes, obviously the thing that smacks us in the face with this chapter was Timothy Oliphant's Cobb Vanth. He's wearing Boba's armor. So naturally for us, I think we're thinking about, is it possible for Cobb Vanth to reappear in the Book of Boba Fett? But I will say, before we speculate on that idea, just in general, DJ, what were your overall thoughts on the character of Cobb Vanth?
I remember hearing whispers and rumors across Twitter about this character named Cobb Vanth and his rumored appearance into Mandalorian season 2, because he was previously mentioned in a novel. Canon. I don't know what novel. So if somebody knows, drop it in the chat. We'll shout you out.
Aftermath. It was
Aftermath.
Yeah. I believe
Okay.
so.
Sweet. That's great. I didn't know that, and I'm glad you did. But him being in that one was great connection. So a lot of the novel fans, especially, I know there's a lot of hardcore Aftermath fans out there. So it was nice to see that connection made, because it kind of lends to a lot of new things. And we actually have 2 more guests about who've just come into the chat. We've got Rural Farm Boy RFB. How's it going there, buddy? Good to see you. And then Blue Harvest Bricks confirms it's the Aftermath series where we see
thank you, sir.
Cobb Vanth, and then a new individual, Miss Sunflower. Hello, Miss Sunflower.
And Miss Sunflower's been visiting our channel a lot lately. We appreciate that.
Oh, okay, cool. So I don't know who Tia Organa is. Is that Princess Leia's adopted mother? I don't know.
I don't know if Miss Sunflower is referencing Indiana Skywalker's incredible username potentially and coming up with a different one. That's what I was thinking when I saw that comment.
That'd be good too. We'd go with Miriam Organa.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's
there's
cool.
your Indiana. There's your indie connection. But back on Cobb Vanth, I like this. What's that show, Justified, that Timothy Oliphant did? I binged it for a little bit right after chapter 9. I tried to go through it all, and I just couldn't do it. And her aunt's Leia's aunt's name is Tia Organa.
Oh,
good to know.
Didn't know that.
Didn't know that. That's new information to me. So as we get going into this episode, it was just kind of cool to see Timothy Oliphant come back to a Western type of a movie where he's the gunslinger, like a legitimate gunslinger. Yeah. And I know that the guy who played the Weequay also was in Westerns back in the day. I don't know that actor's name, but I don't even know what the guy looks like, but I just know he was in Westerns. I heard somebody say that somewhere on Twitter, I think like 2 years ago or whenever it was. So I just think it's really cool that he came into Star Wars with that kind of a Western John Wayne type swagger, and it complements what we saw in season 1 from Brendan Wayne. So it's just cool stuff. I think it's cool that he jumped in like that.
Yeah, I think,
and it's exciting.
Timothy Oliphant matches the genre and matches the character of Cobb Vanth beautifully. Like, job well done on casting, and I'm so glad he was willing to come and play this character. What did you think as soon as you saw him standing in that doorway, did you immediately think it was Boba's armor as soon as you saw it?
I did 100%.
Okay.
I mean,
me too.
The second I saw it, it was so captivating, because I was thinking, there were rumors. We all remember the rumors. There were rumors that Boba Fett would show up in season 2. Mm-hmm. And I thought, I didn't understand why that was a thing. And at the time I remember feeling like this is not good, because we're establishing new characters. People had been saying for months at that point, let's move away from the Skywalkers. Let's just kind of do our own thing out here. And it's okay if it takes place in the same timeline, it doesn't matter if that's the case. Let's just do these new characters. I was kind of feeling that way for a while. And then when this happened, I was thinking, why are they dropping this in there? Mm-hmm. Like, if I go back to that, I got up at 5 a.m. that day, I remember, and go back to me just being super sleepy over here on the couch, just trying to figure out what was going on. I'm like, why are they doing Boba Fett? It just didn't make sense to me, but it was
Mm-hmm.
Tatooine. It was definitely his armor. And I remember looking at it and being like, that can't be Boba Fett. Like he seemed too thin.
Oh, definitely. He looked so awkward standing there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember hearing one person say it was like when you're a kid and like you play dress up with like I know my sister would play dress up with my mom's clothes.
Yeah.
And they don't fit, because you're a toddler wearing adult clothing. That's kind of what it looked like, it reminded me of being a kid and trying on my dad's suit jackets, or like when you're really little and try to put your dad's shoes on,
Sure.
that kind of deal. That's what it looked like. And
and I love that. I love that they committed to kind of making him look that way in that armor, because us as fans, we know, look, dude, that's not yours, man. Come on. That is fit for the Fets, my guy. Get that off.
It's a Fett or Fett.
There you go.
And you're right. It was odd. It was kind of different, but I liked it. And in the moment after, and even rewatching it yesterday, I was kind of finding myself remembering how I was thinking about it the first time I watched it. And by the time I got to the end of the episode, I was like, that's Cobb Vanth's armor. It's like what I was thinking. It was Cobb Vanth was for a moment Boba Fett.
There you go.
And to me, he was anyway for just a moment. I mean, a lot of people may disagree on that, but
sure. I certainly would have loved to see Cobb Vanth continue down wearing that armor. I'm repping him second week in a row. I got Cobb Vanth on my t-shirt, repping that Boba Fett armor. I would have loved to see him carry that on, but I think that what we got instead was much appreciated. Now, Blue Harvest Bricks in the chat kind of segues us honestly to this next question that we had here in our notes. It's almost like, being a Discord member, there's like a connection through the Force. So if you're not a Discord member, maybe you should join our Discord. But Blue Harvest Brick says, when I saw Cobb Vanth in Boba's armor, I thought we aren't getting the real Boba Fett then. Glad I was wrong. So like I said, directly our next question in the notes, did we think this would be the last time we would see Boba's armor in action? I know for me personally, because it gave that backstory of how he came across the armor, I didn't think so. I thought that we would continue to see it moving forward. I didn't know at the time that it was going to be Boba wearing it. Well, obviously until the very end of the episode. But in the moment when I was seeing it, I was like, okay, Cobb Vanth is going to be our Boba type of character in the franchise moving forward.
I definitely thought something similar. I didn't know necessarily if we'd come back to him, though. My thinking was I liked him as the Boba Fett type character in this episode. Mm-hmm. So when you say going forward, I didn't think going forward. I definitely thought right then and there.
Gotcha.
But once he hands the armor back over at the end of the episode and Mando rides away with it, and the thing that I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll come to that later.
Yeah, it's all good. All good, man.
If I remember, well, I'll say it now because I might forget.
Say
when the force perspective changes, it goes from full screen or whatever to widescreen, and that's when he rides away, and that's when we actually see Boba turn, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But that for me was, and I was listening to that Boba Fett song before we went live tonight, just to kind of hype it gave me like the right kind of a adrenaline. It was perfect. It was perfect. See, there's that connection again. But all of that to say, watching him hand that armor over, I was expecting something like, okay, they're going to hand this armor over and it's going to go to like the armorer. I was 100% expecting to see the armorer again. And when we didn't see the armorer again, I was a little bummed. But by the time we got to Luke Skywalker, I didn't really care.
Sure.
I want to see the armorer come back, though, still. That hasn't changed. But I really thought that armor would just kind of go somewhere else. I didn't know where. I just figured, okay, maybe Mando will make it something of his. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I was thinking. And then the fact that we waited for so long to give it back to Boba was interesting.
Yeah.
So for me, I really didn't think we'd see it again.
Okay.
I just did.
Fair. Next question here. We're diving deep into this armor kind of discussion. I alluded to the backstory of the Jawas getting hold of Boba Fett's armor whenever Cobb Vanth started explaining to Din Djarin, how he came across it or whatever. And for me, whenever I think as far as, okay, how did that happen? I believe in that Aftermath series, it is explained. I don't know that with 100% confidence, but I want to say that the potential story is out there. All I know is that Cobb Vanth explains, is that he bought it off of the Jawas. But I don't know. I would certainly like for this to be portrayed in the Book of Boba Fett. You know, Tamara Morrison has mentioned before that we're getting flashbacks to go back to the character some more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I would certainly love this to be a story point of, okay, how did Boba Fett, first of all, how did he get out of the Sarlacc pit? Second of all, how did the armor then make that journey all the way to Cobb Vanth, where we end up, seeing it for the first time?
I have a general, idea maybe of how that can happen. This is something I've thought about quite a bit since the trailer released a few weeks back. There's that one shot of those sand people, the Tusken Raiders, kind of walking toward the camera in the trailer.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, okay, that's not just in there for no reason. I mean, every movie trailer puts the elements that the filmmakers want you to see, initially. And the Tusken Raiders being there, I don't think is a misdirect. Personally. I think it's something very important. So my tinfoil hat, theory here is going to be Boba climbed out of the Sarlacc pit for whatever reason that changed his perspective on his life. Okay. And he says, I'm going to sell my armor to the Jawas. All right. So he sells them to the Jawas and then somehow commits to becoming a Tusken Raider. He says, I'm going to become one of you. And they take him in, and that would explain the gaffy stick and the rifle and the hood and the tunic and all that good stuff. That we see in the tragedy, that episode.
Sure.
That's what makes sense to me.
Well, I guess the only thing that I'm thinking of there is, well, what makes him trigger to want to go back and get the armor then if he was wanting to sell it off?
I think he hears rumors, because we got to remember Cobb Vanth has had the armor for about 6 years. Because remember, his story begins the moment the second Death Star blows up. He runs off into the desert, gets saved by the Jawas, comes back, wrecks shop on those mining people, the mining collective, and then he becomes the Marshal of Mos Pelgo. So we have to remember that there is a 6-year period here, or 6 or 7 year period between Return of the Jedi and Mandalorian.
Yeah.
By the time we get to Chapter 9,
sure,
Boba's going to have heard about this guy wearing Mandalorian armor on Tatooine. Well,
right.
We've heard over and over that Mandalorians don't come around on Tatooine much. And who's the main guy who's on Tatooine that's a Mandalorian from the OT? That would be Boba Fett, So it makes sense that he would say, I want my armor back. Whatever the reason is, he just wants his armor back.
I like it.
I don't know. That's my theory. That could go 100% sideways. Okay. Yeah. That could be totally in the recycle bin tomorrow.
Sure.
Right.
Well, no, but, I think there's something there. I think there's something there story-wise. Now, Tusken Raiders, you've alluded to them. We got some Tusken Raider discussion going on there in the chat. Miss Sunflower says, I think the Tusken Raiders took care of Boba after he got out. He was badly injured, and they nursed him back to health. I love that. I think that's 100% correct, and I think that's
why he's with them.
Something that DJ has kind of predicted when we did our Book of Boba Fett, I guess, speculation from that trailer. But that also kind of gets us to our next question again. It's like, golly, the Force works in mysterious ways tonight. Do we think Mando being able to speak with the Tusken Raiders is a setup for a potential Book of Boba connection? And I'll go ahead and give my answer here. I think it would be really cool if we see in the Book of Boba Fett Boba discussing with the Tusken Raiders and somehow Din Djarin's name gets brought up into the conversation. And I think just that small little connection, small little conversation would be really neat.
Well, I remember thinking about this last night, and I was sitting there watching Mando communicate, and I'm looking at this question through a lens of I'll go with expect. I expect to see Boba have some sort of a relationship with the Tusken Raiders, with the Sand People.
I think so too.
And I think that if he has that relationship, they have teased it a ton in Chapter 9 through Din Djarin. Being able to do hand motions and speak sign language, and you don't really speak sign language, do you? You do sign language. So he's him using sign language. I would love to understand.
I know
what that scene was. My sister actually knows sign language, so she could very easily help me with that.
That's
probably
cool.
Regardless. Okay. And by the way, my sister's actually in the chat, so hey, Savannah.
Hello, sis.
No, I can talk to you later. I don't need to talk to you on YouTube, but regardless, I think that there is a connection there. How prominent, I'm not sure, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, I just theorizing, speculating, and we're
All day.
speculating with the Book of Boba Fett, so it fits the genre of Boba Festivities. You mentioned
Absolutely.
him having a connection with Tusken Raiders. I think it'd be cool to see him invite Tusken Raiders to his dining hall and them have a meal together.
Bless you, Caleb Keller. That is the greatest prediction anybody could say is, what does Boba do? He's gonna have Tusken Raiders ride up single file on Banthas to the front door. It's gonna lift up, and that thing's gonna pop out before the doors lift up and go, maybe because of and then backs in. And I wish I could do that voice. I can't do it.
Yeah.
But and then they all just walk in and
Yeah.
they eat rancor meat or something. I don't
Sure.
know. What does Boba eat?
It'd be.
Boba-
I don't know.
Do they bring him crate dragon?
Crate
meat?
dragon, man?
And he's just eating crate dragon with the sand people.
It would certainly make sense because the sand people are
in the
probably feeding on that
oh.
meat for a long time.
What if that pearl they pull out of the crate dragon has like some sort of like they're paying Boba, like Boba's like the godfather, and he helps protect the sand people, and that's their payment, and they're just paid off.
I mean,
They just
that would be certainly cool.
it's so ridiculous. Can you imagine all of that taking
man.
place? It'd be so much fun.
Yeah, it
oh,
would.
man,
All right, I
it's
think
insane.
we're going down a little rabbit hole with this one, but I'm here for it now. I'm here for
I love it. I love it.
All right, next thing that we
man.
have here as far as Chapter 9 goes, potentially connecting to the Book of Boba Fett. Next question, we're getting here toward the end of the chapter. Do we think Boba was present during the first meeting of Cobb Vanth, Mando, and the Sand People when they were sitting around that fire, right? That's when they first met all together.
In the stink drink.
Yeah. Do we think that he was in the background, lurking in the shadows? I certainly do. I don't know if that's just
I'm
my
surprised
own
to hear that.
personal headcanon. I think it would be cool if we get like a POV of Boba lurking in the shadows as that entire chapter's going on.
In a flashback.
In a flashback in the Book of
That'd be
Boba
cool.
Fett. I think it would
That'd
be
be cool.
awesome.
Well, I remember writing this question and thinking he's got to be back there.
Uh-huh.
Like, it's not. He doesn't have to like be in those shots.
Right.
It's kind of almost like Back to the Future 2. Marty McFly can see himself playing guitar on stage from above the rafters, and maybe that's how we kind of see a flashback. Star Wars is not a stranger to pulling from multiple genres, so why not pull into a Back to the Future type of genre? I feel like Back to the Future doesn't fit any other genre. I feel like it's its own genre in a way. It kind of does its own thing. But anyway, other than like a teen movie, but regardless, it could be like that. I think you're right. I think he might be lurking in the shadows. Until you said that, I was like, no, he's fully in garb right there next to Din Djarin the whole time, and he's like, that guy's wearing my armor. I gotta get my armor back. Like that's how. It's just like he's like,
oh my goodness.
He's like, that's not yours. I sold that to the Jawas. Like he's just like being Boba Fett, but he's also being a sand person. It's so ridiculous. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, a little bit. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Kind of similar. Do we think he was present for the Crate Dragon showdown? I certainly, again, if I'm saying that he was in the shadows during the entire chapter, I certainly think that he is watching this transpire from a distance, seeing what's up, seeing what he's going to have to do to potentially get his armor back off of Cobb Vanth. He's studying his potential enemy. He's wanting to see how powerful or how skilled Cobb Vanth is, but he sees the transition go down between Cobb Vanth just giving him the armor, so he's like, oh, okay, I don't have to worry about that then, at least yet. Maybe there will be in the Book of Boba Fett.
Maybe. I was thinking when I wrote this question that he was down there in the sand helping everybody. That's what I was thinking when I wrote this question.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that we're here in person and live, in real time here, I'm thinking I'm gonna go ahead and say he's chilling on a cliff in the distance, just
Yeah.
watching he's waiting for the suns to set at the right time. So he doesn't have to look at them. So he can look at us and watch and just see us. You know, I'm that's what I'm thinking is kind of happening now that you've said that. I really, really like the idea of him being like the godfather of the sand people, even.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why his robes are a different color. Like, you have to achieve a certain status. It's like when you get your master's and your doctorates, your robes for graduation change. Boba's graduated. He's just moved up. He's got like his doctorate in Tusken Raider Tusken Raiderology.
There you go.
That's what I'm thinking.
All right. We are now at the end of the chapter. We finally get the big reveal that Boba Fett is back in the Star Wars franchise. The twin sons of Tatooine are setting. You know, we get that closing in widescreen lens. He turns around, Spurs walking toward the camera. Tamara Morrison is back, but this time he is playing Boba Fett. DJ, let's just go back to that moment. Let's just pause on this analysis and what we could pull from this to go into the Book of Boba Fett. And let's just share appreciation of how incredible of a moment this truly was.
Yeah.
I mean, my jaw literally hit the floor. I was drooling until we had to go back into the studio and record our spoiler review of the episode back in the early days of Mando Talk. And to this day, I'm still blown away with the fact that this was pulled off.
Yes.
Now, we did, we kind of theorized and speculated leading up to season 2 that maybe Boba Fett would somehow come back, but it actually happened. And it's just remarkable to see, as a prequelist that me and DJ are, seeing Tamara Morrison playing as a Fett character yet again. It's just all kinds of emotions came running back.
I remember, again, 5 a.m., by the time this showed up, it was 5:50, because it was a 53-minute long episode. 5:50 rolls around. I hear my wife's alarm go off in the other room, and I'm thinking, okay, she's about to get up. And then Mando rides off, and I'm like, wait a minute, Mandalorian is riding off into the sunset. Who's that guy? Wait, who is that? And then he turns, and I was like, is that Tamara Morrison? And that was what I thought, because again, behind the scenes junkie right here. I mean, I immediately was like, that's Tamara Morrison. And as somebody who's watched the Clone Wars, you always remember that's D. Bradley Baker's voice, and that face that we see in the cartoon is based on Tamara Morrison. So in my mind, I'm like, I've seen Tamara Morrison in cartoon form. I've seen him as Jango Fett. His voice is now in the original trilogy, in Empire Strikes Back. So the whole time I'm like, that's Tamara Morrison. That is Jango Fett. Jango Fett at the time is what I kept saying. I was like, it's Jango Fett. No, it's not. It's Boba Fett. So many emotions, so many feelings. My heart's racing even now trying to remember that. I think I cried. I don't know.
I wouldn't blame you.
I think I cried. I think I cried.
It.
No, I mean, I almost cried watching the Book of Boba Fett trailer. Just the Bomar Monk spider thing that crawled out. I was like, what? I almost shed a tear for that.
There you go.
It was incredible. So just seeing that he came back, I had to have.
Yeah.
I think that morning I got up, I made breakfast. I ate a bowl of Baby Yoda cereal. We didn't know his name was Grogu at the time.
Right.
So I was in there, Baby Yoda cereal, and just thinking about, whoa, that was Boba Fett. Okay, we'll see him again next week. Is what I thought. And
I thought so too. I thought we were
did every week.
Boba in the next week.
Every week.
And the next chapter, Din Djarin was attacked right off the bat of the episode.
Yes.
I thought it was going to be Boba Fett. I thought it was going to be like his little buddies or something doing a job for him. And no, it wasn't. And we had to wait a few more episodes.
This is one of those things that we have to, like, I love speculating, but I like speculating in a healthy way so that we don't elevate expectations.
Sure.
I messed up in that area with Kenobi. I was in Disney Plus Day as a whole. I mean, I remember last Tuesday I was like, oh, I want a buffet.
Yeah.
And we did not get a buffet.
Cautiously
We barely
optimistic.
not me, not that day, not that. And I learned that lesson. But with this one, I was like, okay, that's it. We're never seeing Boba Fett again. That's all that was. Like I told myself, we're not seeing him again. So when we came to the tragedy episode 10, no, not 10, it'd be like 12 or something. Anyway, whenever that finally showed up, I was, I don't
13's
know.
Jedi, 14's tragedy, I think.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. No, it is right. But I when he showed up in that episode, I was just like, oh my gosh, that's Boba Fett. You know, it's just like everything you see Boba Fett and you're like, that's Boba Fett. Like I was at Six Flags one time and I saw a guy wearing a Boba Fett t-shirt and I was like, I like that Boba Fett shirt. And he's like, me too. It was just, you see Boba Fett and you're like, holy cow. And so seeing Tamara Morrison, aka Jango Fett, aka Boba Fett, the prequelist in me got excited because I don't know if you tell me how you thought about this, Caleb, but for me, I was under the impression Disney didn't care about the prequels anymore. And seeing Cobb Vanth on what is now been confirmed Anakin Skywalker's pod race engine that he's turned into a speeder, I was like, oh, prequel stuff, yes. And pit droids, I was like, oh yeah, sweet, pit droids. And then there was Boba Fett, but it's Tamara Morrison who played Jango Fett.
Yeah.
So all my prequel love was just like, yes,
absolutely.
It was just so much emotion, so much feeling. I mean, I could go on and on and on. Absolutely. I don't want to. Yeah, what did you think? Were you of that opinion at all? Or
well, as far as the Disney aspect goes, I think they've realized now that there is a lot of love for the prequels out there. And I think they are now. I mean, we're getting a Kenobi series, folks. And that's definitely going to be heavy prequel vibes. It's also going to connect to the original trilogy, obviously. But, I mean, Hayden Christensen, I think Disney has finally realized that the prequel audience is there. We're all adults now, the ones that grew up with the prequels. So the people that are going to make the noise online are people that love the prequels.
They're us. We've gone full circle from J.J. Abrams saying, I'm going to put Jar Jar Binks' bones in the Jakku Desert all the way to... Here's Jango Fett, but he's Boba Fett. You know, that's where we've come to.
Yeah.
It's wild. Plus Ahsoka in this show too.
Yeah.
You can't. And it's series for her.
All right.
That's a whole other thing.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, listen, that is our chapter 9, the Marshal kind of breakdown of what we could potentially see carry over into the Book of Boba Fett. Let us know if we maybe missed something with that chapter, but there's more this week. We're going to go ahead and now talk about the making of season 2. DJ, what do we got on that front?
Just before we jump into that,
okay,
we had a couple of folks in the chat talking about some more Tusken Raider talks, I love Tusken Raider talks. I think
I do too.
When I was a kid, I thought having the Tusken Raider action figure was weird, and now as an adult, I'm like, where's my Tusken Raider action figure? But Miss Sunflower said Boba's going to rule over Tatooine in Book of Boba Fett. Of course, we know that. He has the Tuskens, the different syndicates, and his friends with the new ruler of Mandalore and his adoptive son, Grogu, Luke's Padawan. Wow, there's a lot of allies happening there. But she said Tuskens and different syndicates. I then said, ooh, a Tusken syndicate. So the Sand People have... I like the idea of a Tusken syndicate happening in the Book of Boba Fett. So more speculation, more stuff for Sand People. Caleb, do you want to add to that?
I mean, I love it. I'm here for it.
All right.
I'm here for it.
Let's go into Disney Gallery, the making of season 2. Now, if you'll remember in Disney Gallery, these were really 2 episodes that compiled season 2 thus far, and they may add to it. I don't know. If someone knows, please tell me. But we've got 2 episodes for season 2 of Mandalorian, the behind the scenes making of. And if you'll remember, they did not break them up into individual episodes for each episode to parallel to the actual Mandalorian series. This was like an hour or so long special. It was just boom, 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 boom. Let's put it all in one thing. And then we didn't get Luke Skywalker for several months. And then in August, we got Luke Skywalker, which we did a full breakdown on that back in August, I think it was. So if you haven't listened to that, go back and check that out. But as far as what we got that is Boba Fett related in just the chapter 9 episode, there isn't a whole lot to talk about with Boba Fett. But like I said, it does get some behind the scenes stuff. We do see a lot of Timothy Olyphant, about a minute probably of him in behind the scenes stuff. And he just looks like he's enjoying being a part of Star Wars. That's primarily what it looks like. This is what it looks like. And I think that's great. Now, Caleb, here's our question. Do you think, and those of you who are listening, if you're watching live, let us know your answer to this question. Do you think that Timothy Olyphant enjoyed his time on The Mandalorian?
Yes, I certainly believe he enjoyed his time on The Mandalorian, and I certainly believe because of that, and I'll answer our question here of our podcast episode, I think Timothy Olyphant's Cobb Vanth is coming back in the Book of Boba Fett. Okay. I will say my percentage right now on how I feel about that is a 70%. We're going to see Cobb Vanth show up in the Book of Boba Fett in some form. It will be pretty remarkable if that was kept secret, since we know the Book of Boba Fett is wrapped at this point. I mean, it's coming next month. But that's how I feel right now. I mean, I certainly hope so. I got the Cobb Vanth on the shirt. I got to rep it. I got to stick to it. He's back. He's coming back, folks.
Wow. I don't know if he's coming back. And we love being optimistic here at Mando Talk, you know, except this past Tuesday, but we won't talk about it. We love being optimistic. So for the sake of being different, I'm going to say he's not coming back.
Ooh.
I'm not going to be, I'm optimistic. He could come back. That's fine. But I don't think he is.
Well, I appreciate Blue Harvest Bricks and Miss Sunflower backing me up.
You know what? Somebody's got to take the dark side every now and then.
Sure.
I mean, I do have Darth Vader right here behind me.
Yeah, you got a lot of Empire Strikes Back around you, to the left, to the right.
Well, I had to surround myself with Boba Fett. You know, he's in these pages. He's not on this poster, but I mean, he should be.
Yeah, he should be.
Regardless, you know what? I don't think he's coming back. I don't think Cobb Vanth is coming back. Let me clarify that. So those of you who are listening, you know, let us know what you think. If you don't get to do this live with us, you know, tweet at us or go join our Discord and tell us if you think that he's coming back. Clearly Miss Sunflower and Blue Harvest Bricks think that he's coming back. I am going to say he's not. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, me too. All right. Well, listen, let's go to Under the Helmet next, and I'm going to pass it to DJ to go ahead and give us kind of his big takeaways for Under the Helmet, The Legacy of Boba Fett. That is the Disney Plus Day special that came out on that day. It's a 22-minute special diving deep into like the creation of the character, some background behind the character, and things of that nature. So we felt like we could go ahead and knock it out and discuss that here on our first chapter of Boba Festivities. And DJ did a great job as far as, you know, leading the way as getting those notes down. So I'm going to pass it to him. And what you got, DJ? What you got?
First of all, I don't feel like we could talk about this special. At least I can't without this.
Oh. There you go.
I intend to speak freely.
The prototype.
It's the prototype Boba Fett helmet. This viewfinder thing is legit. If you have the money to just spend on something like this, do it. Oh, hold on. Hold on. You ready? Just a head nod. That's it.
There you go.
The first time I got this is a true story. I got it out, put it all together because there are some assembly required, but I got it all together and immediately went and looked in the mirror and just nodded. And I was like, I peaked. I can't, it doesn't get better.
You have to, you have to.
Yeah, you do have to. Cause that's like this fun segue. This whole special is just one giant head nod to Boba Fett.
Yes, it is.
And because Under the Helmet exists, it's something we can talk about. Now, we've already been kind of goofy tonight, and I like being goofy, but some of these questions and these thoughts I have on Under the Helmet, we're going to get a little goofy. Okay. So if you like having fun and you like being Star Warsy, let's get into this. Okay. And Miss Sunflower, you're jumping ahead of us. We are going to talk about Boba's cape momentarily. So please stay tuned.
All right.
But first things first, before we even press play, on the gloriousness that is under the helmet. All right. Let's just take a second and appreciate the menu. Just it's there at the top banner. Even today, it's still one of the top banners on Disney Plus. And you click on it, you go to this menu, and it's this beautiful picture of 3 different Boba Fetts, a drawing, the first full suit with the original gun, and then another image of Boba right behind it. It's beautiful. It's captivating. It gets my attention as a behind the scenes junkie. Caleb, what did you think about just the menu?
Oh, it's nice. Rightfully so. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I don't know what else to say. It looks great.
It's great. And I'll address Blue Harvest Bricks really quick. No, I do not have more Boba Fett stuff than Steven Sansweet. Steven Sansweet is a god among collectors.
He's a legend.
He's an incredible guy. And Rancho Obi-Wan is kind of on the Star Wars bucket list, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I definitely want to be there one day. I want to go.
Yes, and we should go to. Let's make it a thing. Mando, get Mando talk to Rancho Obi-Wan. Help us get to Rancho Obi-Wan. I don't know how. If you gotta, I don't know how that works. We don't have any way of doing that. But help us get there. Okay?
I mean, if we get enough subs and enough views, then we can start, making some money. I guess. I don't know. We're not here for that though. We're here to just geek out.
I'm here to talk. But if you would like to see us go to Rancho Obi-Wan,
sure.
But how about y'all just go to Rancho Obi-Wan and tell us about it, and then we'll be jealous of you. Okay?
Yeah, that's true.
All right, let's move into the actual doc. All right, the opening shot. First thing we get, the master Ben Burt doing what Ben Burt does best, making noises for a galaxy far, far away. Little bitty bugle horn. And he goes, this is what it sounds like. Oops, my lips aren't wet enough. Caleb, what did you think about seeing Ben Burt in this opening shot?
I loved the opening shot. It set the mood, and I quite enjoyed it.
I appreciate Ben Burt. He is, not only is he the voice of Wally, more importantly, he's the creator of all the sounds of Star Wars. I mean, not all of them, but the good ones, lightsabers, pew pew, all that fun stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't have Star Wars without Ben Burt. It's fantastic. So for me, as a super fan, seeing Ben Burt just do what he does, that's enough. That's enough. All right. Now the next thing, we get this kind of quick little breakdown. 4 lines of dialogue. That's all Boba Fett has in the entirety of the original trilogy. And they're all in The Empire Strikes Back. So let's run those down. He says, as you wish. He's no good to me dead. What if he doesn't survive? Put Captain Solo in the cargo hold. All incredible lines. In my head, I still don't really hear Tamara Morrison saying, what if he doesn't survive? I hear the original voice actor still in my head, but it doesn't matter. That's Boba Fett's 4 lines of dialogue, and they get used all the time in various capacities. Caleb, have you ever just thrown one of these out there just because?
I mean, okay, I can't lie to you. All day today, I have been saying, he's no good to me dead, over and over again.
There you go.
Just to get ready for Boba Festivities tonight.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And that's, what's funny is that's kind of how a lot of people look at Boba Fett. We thought he died in the Sarlacc pit, and they're like, no, he's no good to me dead.
Yeah.
Bring him back. And they did. So 4 lines of dialogue. They're fun to say. My favorite one is, do you have a favorite one, Caleb?
Of those
is it that
4?
one? Yeah, of those 4.
I think it's he's no good to me dead.
Okay, that's a great one, and that's an emote on Battlefront 2, I think. But my favorite is put Captain Solo in the cargo hold. I love that line. I don't know why. It's cool. Well, then
another stat too that they mentioned there was the 6 minutes and 32 seconds of screen time in the entire original trilogy.
That may be the winning trivia question on a game show one day. So you guys might want to, if you're ever on a game show, you might want to hold on to that one. I did a trivia night at a brewery a couple years ago for Star Wars, and one of the questions was, how much screen time does Darth Vader have in Empire Strikes Back? It's like 13 minutes. It's like nothing. Yeah. He's like barely in the movie, and he's on the poster. It's crazy. And then finally, before we get into the rest of this, like, and I say finally because after this, this is just the introduction we've talked about.
Right.
They give a nice little recap of the cultural appearances of Boba, and the one I kind of wrote out that was just kind of like, that one's hilarious to me, is Family Guy and Peter being Han Solo going, the giant chicken's Boba Fett. That makes me so happy because it makes so much sense if you're a Family Guy fan. It's just so funny to me. Did you have anything that stuck out to you in that little recap, Caleb?
No, other than it really expresses how much of a cultural icon Boba Fett is. I mean, and we just said the stats: 4 lines of dialogue in 6 minutes and 32 seconds of screen time, and he is instantly recognizable. I don't know if you can say that about any other character that's had that little of a role in a franchise.
No, and you said that little of a role. I was about to be like Darth Vader, but you mean like a small
Right.
Yeah. No, I can't think of anything. You know, everybody knows Darth Vader.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say a lot of people know Boba Fett, you know? I've known a lot of people in my life who don't know anything about Star Wars, but they can say Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, and Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they'll get the droids' names mixed up, but they can get Boba Fett.
Yeah.
You know, it's it doesn't make sense to me because I live for this. But anyway, that's the introduction. Now let's get into the meat of this, because this is where we're going to probably spend hopefully not a ton of time. We've already kind of getting close to our time constraint, but you know what? We were 59 minutes on Tuesday, so we're gonna buy a little bit of.
We got a couple of extra minutes.
We got a couple extra minutes to tack on. All right, first thing, Joe Johnston talking the designs of Boba. All right, Caleb, did we know that or did you know? I'll ask that Boba was initially an elite version of a super stormtrooper.
No, I did not know that information.
Okay, I think I did. I remember watching it the other day on Friday and thinking, oh, I knew that. You know, for whatever reason, I knew that. So it's really cool that we see how the concept becomes what it has become. I love when stuff like that happens. So, all right, what do we think about Boba's different weapons and designs?
I love it. I think they're all practical in a sense. I love the detail that went behind each and every single selection. I'm all here. I'm all here. I'm here for it all.
Yeah.
For Boba Fett's weapons and devices.
Yeah. And I think most of them were showcased in the tragedy. So even the knee rockets, you know, it's just,
I love the knee rockets, man.
Who needs knee rockets? Nobody but Boba Fett, you know, it's just good stuff. Now, Miss Sunflower, here's where you were shouting us out here just a second ago about Boba's cape. It's a Star Wars towel originally. Yeah. It's a Star Wars towel that they used after they played volleyball on like their lunch break. You know, like, okay, first of all, I'm not playing volleyball on my lunch break. No. That's not me. So it's cool that they did that, first of all. But it's a towel. Did you know that it was a towel before watching this?
Negative. I did not.
Okay. I did.
There you go. See, I think this is displaying the behind the scenes junkie of DJ.
It is.
And the not so much of Caleb.
But you know what? We're going to get you educated. That's what this is all.
There you go.
All right. And then we go straight to the man himself, George Lucas.
So great.
And this quote that he says in there, this is a good character and people like the bad guys. I mean, people do love the bad guys. And then he gives us a funny little smirk about the holiday special. He just basically denies all involvement. I thought that was hilarious. Caleb, what about you, man?
Yeah, it was hilarious whenever he mentioned the holiday special, and you could just see his reluctancy of bringing it up, but he had to in that moment.
He has to, yes.
But before we move on from George Lucas, I just wanted to express how awesome I think it is that he sat down to do this, to record this.
Yes.
I mean, yes. I know, DJ, you might know this better, but I can't think off the top of my head of George Lucas actually sitting down and recording something for behind the scenes for Disney-owned Star Wars. I know he's in like the Last Jedi thing when Rian Johnson meets him and talks to him, but it's not like a moment where George is like, okay, I'm sitting down, I got a camera right in front of me, an interviewer is asking me questions. I don't know if he's done that before, ever since Disney has acquired Lucasfilm. Correct me if I'm wrong, though.
I don't know if he's done it just specifically for Star Wars.
Mhm.
I know he's done interviews, but I don't know
Right.
if they're for specifically something Star Wars.
Yeah.
I don't think that's it. And yeah, Blue Harvest Bricks, you're right. The towel was just for the prototype suit. They obviously, that'd have been gutsy to throw something like that into the film.
I would have loved it.
The Tantive 4 shuttle that Princess Leia's on in episode 4, the first spaceship you see, in that model, the model makers put a Star Wars poster in the cockpit inside the model.
Well, I mean,
so
you
could do something like that.
This makes me think of Solo. Whenever Han is he's trying to escape and he sees the Empire propaganda and it plays the Imperial theme. I mean, that's just as much as having a Star Wars towel. I mean, come on.
And almost, yeah. I mean, and the cool thing was that was the first time that was in a theatrical thing. It was a thing that they pulled from Rebels and brought it into the movie.
Right,
so that's just, I love knowing that exists in a different major key, minor key, whatever it is inside the universe. But I could talk about that for a while too, to be honest with you. However, George Lucas being a part of Ninja doing this, you're right. I think that is something we need to note as fans because, not trying to be morbid, but these people don't live forever, and it's nice to know that one day George Lucas, there's one day where he sat down to talk about a character he helped design for 5 minutes and then didn't think much else about it, but it's become this big deal. And, here we are talking about it even now. So, that's kind of it for George Lucas. He's in here a little bit more, but, if you haven't watched it yet, why? First of all, haven't you watched it? And secondly, go watch it and then come back here. But let's move forward. All right. What do we think about the parade? Seriously, the parade thing for me is the best thing. This is the best thing about the whole special. I loved everything about this parade in 1978. It's his first public appearance. He's signing autographs. I mean, the way the kids look at Vader and look at Boba, it says so much about the allure of Star Wars. Caleb, what is that? What do you think of when you see that? What does that conjure up for you?
Well, I mean, my initial reaction as far as him getting that type of reaction at that parade, as far as it being his first public appearance, I think if you're someone that is the designer of the way Boba Fett looked, you're probably in that moment, you're like, okay, we crushed the design of this character if people are reacting in this kind of way. I feel like that would have been so rewarding had I been involved with that, and you see just all these people going crazy over Boba Fett, and they hadn't really even seen him that much. I mean, it's just absolutely insane. But yes, I get those feelings, I think back to being a kid, and it was homecoming week. This is how crazy Star Wars and just dressing up as Star Wars characters is.
Love where this is going.
My brother was in kindergarten, okay? I wasn't in school yet, so I'm just this kid on the sidelines just watching the homecoming parade, whatever. And my brother's kindergarten class, their class theme was the Phantom Menace. And so a lot of the students were dressed as like Darth Maul, Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan Kenobi. And as a little kid looking up to these people that are older than me, so I think they're awesome, it's like, oh, those are Star Wars characters. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
And you don't even just, you just think, oh, you're looking at a 6-year-old, but you're like, that's Darth Maul. It's just so cool. There's nothing quite like cosplaying, dressing up as Star Wars characters, and the legit Boba Fett of showing up in public for this parade, I feel like would have been incredible to witness.
Yeah, if I had a time machine, they always say, if you have a time machine, where are you going to go? Like, almost always people would, like, for me as a Star Wars fan for years, I was like, I want to go back and see the movie in 1977 in the theaters. But you could potentially end up taking a ticket away from somebody who needed to go see, there's all those ramifications. This, you show up for the parade, you can just be a fly on the wall. It doesn't affect anything. You're just, there's Boba Fett, and you're like, yes.
Yeah.
I'm seeing Boba Fett. It's just, that'd be cool. So the parade was fantastic. Now, let's kind of skip forward just a little bit, Caleb, in the notes, just for time's sake. I want to talk about Jeremy Bullock and his contribution to the character. He is Boba Fett in Empire and in many parts of the beginning of Return of the Jedi. You don't have Boba Fett without Jeremy Bullock.
No.
And I remember when it was announced that he passed away last year, I was sad because it was like, man, another one of these original trilogy actors has passed. And that's always, very sad as a fan to deal with. And I loved listening to his wife, Maureen. She was just, while the parade was the coolest thing in this, she was the jewel of this episode. Is how I looked at her. Listening to her talk about Jeremy was fantastic. I thought it was honored well. His memory was honored well through her. What do you think?
Oh, it was well done. It was beautiful. I feel like that Jeremy was honored very well as far as his use, his effort, his passion for Boba Fett, and not only Boba Fett, but just the Star Wars community as a whole. They expressed that, and they didn't spend a lot of time on it, but it felt like they did because every second that they used to spend time on it was very meaningful. So well done on that aspect of it.
Yeah, I think so too. Did you know that he cameoed in Revenge of the Sith before this?
I did know that.
I did not know that.
I also knew that he was the Imperial officer in Empire.
I did know that. I did know that one.
Yeah.
I just think I thought it was really cool that he was in Revenge of the Sith. He contributed to the prequels as well.
Right.
So technically Boba Fett was in episodes 2 and 3. So take
There
that,
you go.
and do with it what you want. And I'm loving that we're getting a little nostalgic down here in the chat. Even Blue Harvest Brick says he remembers dressing up as a Jedi to watch The Phantom Menace on opening night over in the UK. Dude, I can't believe you're awake. Thank you for being awake. Thank you so much.
Okay, that makes me think of something else.
Go ahead.
My all-time favorite Halloween costume, Anakin Skywalker, Attack of the Clones. My mom went to the extent of braiding a Jedi braid, and I got a clip, that women put in their hair, clipped it behind my ear, and it just draped down all day long, and it was the proudest moment of my childhood.
That's a goat moment, man. That is a goat moment. Oh man, that's fantastic. I never did that. However, I did dress up as Luke Skywalker one year for Halloween.
That's cool.
And we did this thing where you could go to a mall and trick or treat around the mall.
Uh-huh.
And the first time I ever saw cosplay was of Jango Fett. And it was his dad, and his son was a mini Boba Fett.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was the coolest thing I think I'd ever seen up to that point as far as cosplay goes. And I was just like, oh my gosh, it's Jango Fett. I was just excited.
Yeah.
Tying it back over here. Now, we got a lot from Jeremy Bullock. Then we got Daniel Logan.
Dude, so cool. So cool.
Go ahead. Talk about it.
This was one of my big takeaways. This may have just
sweet.
been my favorite moment, honestly, was just Daniel Logan talking again and being on screen as far as a Lucasfilm developed project, Under the Helmet thing. Bring him back, please. Somehow, some way, make it happen. Tamara Morrison, you've talked about flashbacks in the Book of Boba Fett. Give a flashback with Daniel Logan wearing the Boba Fett armor. Wouldn't that be incredible? I mean, make it happen. He's the perfect age right now to flashback to original trilogy time frame. Let's do it.
Our age.
He's
only like 30. Have you seen the behind the thing he did where he put on the armor, those pictures he did?
Yeah.
Isn't that incredible?
Great.
Looks fantastic. It's great. I would love to see him do something small. I mean, he could just be, if he's just Daniel Logan doing a cameo, that's great. But maybe we'll get something like that. I don't know. But he was big take. And I loved the nods to Clone Wars. I knew he voiced Boba in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
I very much appreciated hearing that. And then we get to Rancho Obi-Wan.
So
right.
So cool.
So just to keep it short and sweet, we could have talked about Rancho Obi-Wan for a while, I think. But Caleb, what doesn't matter if it's Boba Fett or not. What are you going to steal from Rancho Obi-Wan? No, I'm kidding. I'm not going to steal anything from Rancho Obi-Wan. Okay. But if you had the opportunity to have anything from Rancho Obi-Wan, from what you've seen previously or from this, what is it?
That's a question that I was not prepared for.
It's in the notes.
That was a question that I missed.
Well, that's okay. I'll say this. I just want a gun. I don't really care whose gun it is.
I'll tell you what, the original Boba Fett gun, that was pretty cool.
That was cool.
That was very
cool. I don't think I want that one.
Okay.
Like, it's cool. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I just want I think I really want a stormtrooper gun. I want an E11 blaster. That's what I
that'd
want.
be cool.
That'd be it would be in a glass case.
I mean, really,
It
I
would
would
be
take
right
anything
here.
in there.
Yeah, he wouldn't miss any of it. Oh man,
If you're
I
listening,
love.
Steve, I promise if you
No,
want to
we
bring
won't-
Mando
won't.
talk out there, we won't steal anything.
No, I'll put my hands in my pockets the whole time. They'll stay there. I won't take anything. It would just be a treat to go there. Miss Sunflower says she would take the screen used Death Star parts.
That is cool.
So that would be neat. Have you seen the people on TikTok who turn their like office wall into like a Death Star wall?
No, I haven't seen that.
I'll have to find one and send it to you, but it's really, really cool. These people are taking LED lights and making like Star Destroyer walls behind them. It's really, 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 really cool. All right. Coming down to this final quote from Dave Filoni, the man, the myth, the legend, the Filoni. Dave Filoni said, having the Boba Fett figure invited creative thinking and invited stories to be told about this character. Certainly a nod to Book of Boba Fett and also the things we learned from Disney Gallery in season 1 about just the making of the Mandalorian. But for me, I remember when I got to college, actually, I'll take a step back. Toy Story 3 came out when I was a junior in high school. That night, after watching it for the first time, I went home and got out all my old toys and picked through the ones I wanted to hold on to. And I found my Boba Fett figure in there. Had it with me in my first car when I went to college. And I still have it. It's actually over on the TV stand in front of me. But I love that Boba Fett figure. So having the action figure does a lot for imagination, and you keep it, hold on to that and all that. And I've got other Boba Fett stuff back here, obviously, but like that one over there stays over there because it's an important action figure.
Yeah.
Caleb, hearing this thing about having just the figure invited creative thinking, what does that say to you about just Boba Fett, Filoni, the future of Boba Fett? Just kind of talk about that for a second. Well,
it's certainly teasing of what's to come. Dave knows they've probably he's probably
Dave
expressing
always knows
that he knows they created something pretty cool and he can't wait for us to see it. But I think it speaks to, I think it was Robert Rodriguez that directed the tragedy episode, and he's going to be heavily involved with the Book of Boba Fett.
I think he's helming the show.
Yeah, he's heavily involved at least. It speaks to how much of a sandbox this franchise is. So much fun could be had, and Boba Fett in particular. There's so many places that you could take Boba, and I'm sure this is quite sad. I have never had a Boba Fett toy, not once, not a collectible, nothing. Because I've never seen one, and I also have never. I don't really order things offline. As far as collectibles go, I kind of enjoy finding them. I have never owned a Boba Fett action figure, collectible, anything. So I don't have any experience as far as creating my own stories with the character. But I have that experience with other characters. I just never had a Boba Fett growing up.
We need to fix that so you can invite some more creative thinking into your life. That's what we need. You just got to have a Boba Fett figure, and then you'll have the imagination of a 6-year-old again, and everything will explode after that. Well, maybe I'm glad that we have this quote from Filoni, because it tells us a lot about the care that. While Tuesday I was kind of about Lucasfilm, hearing something like that kind of puts me into a better perspective to say, you know what, they do care. It's nice they know they care. It's just nice to know they care. Going back to Tuesday, I just wish they would do a little bit more better communicating the plan, I guess, so to speak. So I loved this quote from Filoni, and it doesn't necessarily end it, but it kind of goes into, we had some interviews with Tamara Morrison in there, and then the special just kind of ends with a short rehashing of the Boba Fett or Book of Boba Fett trailer, which, quick plug, you can go check out our reaction to that on YouTube. We had a lot of fun doing that one. Personally, I got to do that on my own. Caleb did his on his own, and we got to talk about it quite a bit up to this point. So if you want to go check that out, you can go do that. But that's kind of how the special ends.
All right,
and then up pops directed by the executive producer, blah blah blah. You know,
blah
that's
blah
kinda
blah
how-
blah blah
blah blah blah. You know, that's how credits go. They
Yeah.
just say blah blah
Yeah.
blah. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
All right. Well, that is our first Boba Festivities chapter where we dive deep into the character of Boba Fett. What did you think of Under the Helmet, The Legacy of Boba Fett? I know I certainly enjoyed it. It was a quick 22 minutes. And by quick, I don't mean like it should have been longer. I just felt like it was perfect. It went by fast because it was so much fun. But what did you think of it? Now, I do want to say this, though. There is actually something in here in this Under the Helmet special that was mentioned that I think we should talk about that was not brought up tonight, and it was this line. It was that less is more with Fett. And the question that I have, and we're not going to talk about it tonight, maybe we'll carry this over into next week's Boba Festivities Chapter 2. The less is more with Fett quote. I can't remember who said it in the special, but it made me think, does this make us feel a certain type of way as we are getting more and more and more and more Boba Fett? Because we're fixing to get a series on him. Is it possible that less is more mentality is going to fade away? We won't speak to that. We will tease that for next week. And we will also discuss the next chapter in The Mandalorian that Boba Fett appears in, which I believe is the big deal of the tragedy. So we can't wait to do that. I can't wait to have DJ, our prototype Boba Fett, on for that week's episode. And we'll see you Tuesday for sure, because Tuesday's our Star Wars news. So don't forget about that. But DJ, I appreciate you being here yet again this week. Anything you want to say to our lovely audience before we get out of here?
He's no good to me dead.
There you go.
Other than that, get a Boba Fett helmet. It makes your life a little better.
There you go. All right. Well, we hope you have a great week, or rest of the week, and a great weekend. We'll see you on Tuesday when we cover our Star Wars news, and we will certainly see you for Boba Festivities number 2. And until then, check us out on socials at Mando Talk, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content. And until then, until next time, as always, we have spoken.